Hey there, history lover. Let's chat about one of the most legendary figures to ever stride across the pages of history, Genghis Khan. Whether you're a fan of epic tales, military strategy, or just love learning about people who changed the world, Genghis Khan's story is one you have to know. Grab your favorite snack, settle in, and let's dive into the life and legacy of the man who built the largest contiguous empire in human history and left an impact that still resonates today. First things first, who exactly was this guy? Born as Temujin around 1162 in the rugged steppes of Mongolia, he didn't start out as a conqueror, he started out as a survivor. Life on the Mongolian plains was harsh, and Temujin faced betrayal, slavery, and the loss of loved ones before he even hit his teens. But instead of breaking him, these challenges forged him into a leader of incredible vision, determination, and ruthlessness. By uniting the fractious tribes of Mongolia under his banner, Temujin became Genghis Khan, universal ruler, in 1206. From there, he didn't just stop at unification, he set out to reshape the entire world. And boy, did he succeed. So why does Genghis Khan still capture our imaginations nearly 800 years later? Here's why. Let's talk numbers for a second. At its peak, the Mongol Empire stretched from Eastern Europe to the Sea of Japan, a whopping 23 million square kilometers, 9 million square miles. That's larger than any other empire in history, including the Romans, Ottomans, and British. If you lined up all the lands Genghis Khan controlled, it would span roughly 20% of the Earth's land area. Mind-blowing, right? Forget what you think you know about medieval warfare. Genghis Khan rewrote the rulebook. His armies were lightning fast, highly disciplined, and brutally efficient. They used psychological tactics like spreading fear through rumors, fake retreats to lure enemies into traps, and siege engines that could crush fortified cities. Oh, and they communicated using a network of horse-mounted messengers called the Yam, which was basically the FedEx of the 13th century. But here's the kicker. Genghis didn't rely on sheer numbers. His forces were often outnumbered but won because of superior strategy, mobility, and adaptability. In short, he wasn't just a conqueror, he was a mastermind. For someone known for conquering vast swaths of land, Genghis Khan had some surprisingly modern ideas. Unlike many rulers of his time, Genghis promoted people based on skill and loyalty, not birthright. If you were talented, you could rise to the top, no matter where you came from. While he demanded absolute loyalty to him as ruler, Genghis allowed conquered peoples to practice their own religions without interference. Buddhists, Muslims, Christians, and others all coexisted under Mongol rule. Genghis fostered trade along the Silk Road, connecting east and west like never before. This exchange of goods, ideas, and culture laid the groundwork for globalization centuries later. Not bad for a guy from the Mongolian steppe, huh? Of course, we can't talk about Genghis Khan without addressing the darker aspects of his legacy. Let's be real. He wasn't exactly a cuddly figure. His campaigns were marked by widespread destruction, massacres, and brutal tactics designed to instill terror. Entire cities were razed, populations decimated, and survivors enslaved. Some historians estimate that up to 40 million people died as a direct result of Mongol conquests. That's roughly 10% of the global population at the time. But here's the thing. While Genghis was undeniably ruthless, he wasn't random in his violence. His goal was always strategic, to break resistance, secure loyalty, and ensure stability within his empire. Love him or hate him, you can't deny his methods worked. Here's where things get even more interesting. When Genghis Khan died in 1227, under mysterious circumstances naturally, his empire didn't crumble. It expanded. His successors, like Ogedei Khan and Kublai Khan, continued his mission, pushing Mongol influence into places like China, Persia, and Eastern Europe. Under Kublai Khan, the Mongols even founded the Yuan dynasty in China, ruling over one of the most prosperous periods in Chinese history. But eventually, the empire fractured. By the mid-14th century, internal strife, succession disputes, and external pressures led to its decline. Still, the Mongol legacy endured, in everything from cultural exchanges to administrative systems that influence future empires. You might be wondering, why should I care about a guy who lived 800 years ago? Here's why. The Mongols connected distant civilizations, spreading technologies, foods, and ideas that shaped the modern world. Ever heard of gunpowder, paper money, or pasta? Thank the Mongols for helping introduce them to new regions. Genghis Khan's emphasis on adaptability, loyalty, and innovation offers timeless lessons for leaders today. His story reminds us of humanity's boundless potential, for good and for ill. Few individuals have left such an indelible mark on history, and studying his life gives us insight into what drives great and sometimes terrible achievements. Genghis Khan wasn't just a conqueror, he was a force of nature. He reshaped borders, redefined leadership, and created connections that changed the course of civilization. Sure, his methods were brutal, but his impact was undeniable. He's a reminder that history isn't black and white. It's messy, complicated, and full of contradictions. So next time you hear someone mention Genghis Khan, remember, he wasn't just a warrior or a ruler, he was a visionary who dared to dream bigger than anyone else. And whether you admire him, fear him, or both, there's no denying that his story is one worth telling. Do you think Genghis Khan's violent methods were justified by his long-term achievements? How do you think the world would look different if the Mongol Empire had lasted longer? What modern leaders remind you of Genghis Khan, and why? Let's keep the conversation rolling, because history is always better when we share it together.